A horrific murder has gone viral. It's the biggest story in the country right now. Democrats aren't talking about it. The liberal mainstream media is not talking about it. And likely because it is, well, most people make the assumption, a black man brutally murdered a young white woman. People believe that it is predominantly the race, as is the reason why the story is not getting national coverage except on social media. When you look at the Daniel Penny story, you had a black man on a train threatening to kill people, and Penny stopped this man, and unfortunately, this man lost his life. Penny was not trying to kill him, didn't even know he was dead. They tried to put him in prison for the rest of his life. We have another story. The story that you're seeing right now on the screen, for those that are watching, is not in fact about Irina Zarutska, who was brutally murdered on the train. It's about a veterinary professor who was also stabbed to death in a similar fashion while walking her dog in a park. Another story just happened very similarly. And you know what? This one's actually getting a little bit of coverage. Now, are the big players sharing this? They're not. It's not going viral among these big news outlets. They're not talking about it. They ignore these stories. So now we have, in the span of a couple of days, two big stories. One, a young woman was leaving work, went on a train, and was mercilessly stabbed and brutally murdered for no reason. Donald Trump has called this out. He says this has got to stop. And then, this morning, another breaking story. On Saturday, a professor was walking her dog in a park when a black man stabbed her to death, seemingly for no reason. Stole her car, abandoned it, and fled. The question is why? Now, it may surprise you to find that people actually put up fundraisers for the ex-con who was accused of murder. He's on video doing it. People were actually trying to raise money for this guy. Now, why is the media covering this up? There's another component to the story. And when Axios, corporate outlet, finally does talk about this, they say it fuels the MAGA agenda. That MAGA has latched onto this murder for their crime narrative. Wow, no, I think it was just kind of a brutal murder in public that didn't have to happen. With people sitting around watching this young woman lose her life. And it didn't have to happen because the man who is seen on video raising his arm and killing her. He'd been arrested before and he could have been locked up. And now we have another story already. Donald Trump has put out a statement saying that Chicago will learn why we call it the Department of War. And Democrats say he's declaring war on us. Ridiculous. He's making a stupid joke. Now, I'm eternally grateful to the president for bringing the focus onto Chicago, my hometown. I'm from the Garfield Ridge area of Chicago. We never called it that. We just call it Midway. That's where the airport is. But the actual name is Garfield Ridge. And it's prominent gang territory. Not the worst part of Chicago, but certainly closer to the bad side. When people say South Side, they tend to refer to 45th and Halstead maybe, or closer to 95th. Southwest Side, Midway isn't the worst, but it is still one of the historic gang areas in Chicago. And so we'll be joined later on by a woman from Chicago running for Congress who agrees with the president. And I also from Chicago agree with the president. And we want to see our city protected. But first, I need to tell you about what's going on with this crime and why we need something to change. Now, this story about this Auburn professor is just breaking this morning, despite happening on Saturday. And it's not as far and wide as the Irina Zarutska story, which has become the biggest story in the country, as it should. These other stories, I think this one in particular, you do need to know about. Before we get started, my friends, we have some great sponsors today. We got AmericanFinancing.net. Check out AmericanFinancing.net/Tim. If you've been living on credit cards just to cover your groceries, gas bills, you know those interest rates are brutal. Why keep paying 20% or more to the banks when you could call our friends over at American Financing? They got mortgage rates in the 5s. And they are showing people every day how to keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket and out of the hands of credit card companies. Right now, American Financing is helping homeowners save an average of $800 a month by using their home's equity to wipe out high-interest debt with no upfront fees, no obligation, and just a 10-minute call to a salary-based mortgage consultant. And here's the kicker. If you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments, putting even more cash in your hands right away. Don't wait. Call American Financing now at 866-890-7811. That's 866-890-7811, or visit americanfinancing.net/Tim. And then, of course, Beam Dream, my friends. Go to shopbeam.com/Timcast, and you will get up to 40% off. Now, what is Beam Dream? It is delicious hot cocoa with magnesium, L-theanine. It's got vitamins. It's fantastic. I say magnesium, and it helps sleep. Now, I had been getting normal sleep for a long time. I thought I was doing pretty all right. I was sleeping not too much. I wasn't sleeping enough hours, and I thought I was okay. I was like, let me give myself an extra hour of sleep. I'll try to go to bed earlier. And my sleep score was pretty good. It was like the high 80s, and I'm like, hey, it's pretty good. What am I going to do, right? I get Beam Dream. I drink this every night before bed. I had a delicious glass of the brownie batter last night. I sleep beautifully. I wake up feeling like $1,000,000, like there's lightning surging through. I got energy. I did not know my sleep could have improved. And to be honest, for me, I think it's the magnesium. It's got melatonin, but I think I think I need the magnesium, you know. For me, that was it. So my friends, you definitely got to check out Beam Dream. Use promo code TIMPOOL. Go to beam.com/TimPool. Actually, it's Timcast and Timpool? They gave me both. I guess they both work. I don't know what they're trying to track, but I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Beam Dream. Melatonin, magnesium, definitely check it out. And don't forget, last but not least, subscribe to this channel, share the show with everyone you know, support the work that we do, become a member at timcast.com of our Discord server right here. Community events, our official newsletter, and the community where you guys can share ideas, build things together. Community is the most important thing we can do right now with population collapse. With all of the troubles that we're facing going forward in the future, the most important thing is creating bonds between you and other people in your community and having that community. I ain't even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I'm talking to everybody I know about this. Like, if you're opening a skate shop, if you're opening a game shop, if you're opening a burger joint, you need to focus on your local community and get people to come consistently to share ideas and to be connected. Otherwise, we are in trouble. But let's jump to the news, my friends, from the New York Post. Pint-sized Auburn veterinary professor hacked to death by fiend while walking her dog in the park. Now, I don't want to downplay this story because I want to get to the big news about Irina Zarutska and how the media has ignored this. And I believe it is only because of the Irina story, this poor young woman, that we are learning about this poor veterinarian professor who was brutally murdered. Julie Gard Schnuel, 59, a professor in Auburn, I believe Auburn, Alabama, was hacked to death. She had driven to the park with her dog in her Ford F-150. The dog stuck by her body. The truck was recovered on Sunday, a couple minutes drive away. Harold Rashad Dabney III, 28, was arrested and charged with capital murder, Auburn outlet Open Line reported. Now, we'll say this. He's been accused. We don't know for sure. In the Irina story, the reason why it's so brutal and such a big story is because we have video evidence. The video has been published, and it's terrifying. But it looks like, once again, another story. Officers in contact with Dabney made observations that led them to believe Dabney had involvement in the homicide that occurred. He is being held without bond. News of Schnuel's killing left the community stunned, with locals and even state reps paying tribute to her. Well, here's the story for those that may have missed it. I covered it this morning, but this is, as I'm doing the research on this, another story emerges. Another similar story. Young Ukrainian refugees subway stabbing death fuels uproar. Take a look at this image. The precursor. I know it may be shocking to some from September 6th, from Saturday. And I'm sure YouTube won't appreciate it, but it doesn't matter. End Wokeness says 0 AP stories, 0 PBS, 0 New York Times, 0 NPR, 0 Wall Street Journal, 0 BBC, 0 CNN, 0 WAPO. Now, when you see this story, this is from Charlotte, where it happened. This young woman, leaving work, sat down, unsuspecting, and this man, for no reason, pulled out a knife and decided to end her life. It makes no sense. It's just insanity, and it doesn't have to happen. Now, I had said if one National Guardsman was sitting on that train, this wouldn't have happened, because people are scared about someone who has the ability, the capability to stop you and protect others. But this guy knows, because he's been arrested before, he will get away with it. DeCarlos Brown Jr., 34, was arrested, charged with first-degree murder. It was August 22nd. She was sitting in front of him on the light rail in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was attacked from behind. Take a look at this. Where we are as a nation. First, I already showed you how most of the corporate liberal news outlets did not cover the story. They didn't care. Oh, but George Floyd is the apocalypse. George Floyd was a local news story that went national. The cops in that story probably could have acted better, but George Floyd was on drugs, demanded to be pulled out of the car, resisted arrest, was placed on the ground, and Chauvin arrived after the fact. The man's already on the ground. Chauvin arrives and applies a hold that the police department trained him to do. I'm not saying it was good. I'm not saying he should have done it. I'm saying these are the facts of the case. He went to prison over this. It became the biggest story in the country. They say the murder of George Floyd. It's just evil. The lies, the manipulation, and it's just evil. George Floyd's death was accidental, and you could argue negligence. It's true. Chauvin was on him for like 9 minutes. But the idea that he was murdered intentionally by a cop, no, more so it was negligence. It shouldn't have happened. But these men, even the cop who was holding the crowd back, who had no idea what was going on, went to prison. Chauvin was stabbed, 21 times in prison? This was a national news story. And okay, I'm not saying it shouldn't have been. I'm pointing out that this is ignored by the media. See, in the George Floyd story, we are forced to react to it. We have to then say, here's what they're telling us the news is, and here's what we think. And we do react to it. With this story, the reaction was largely, why have you ignored this? Why do we have stories like this going viral and we don't get the same degree of concern? Well, people are upset. Trump says he wants to put a stop to this crime. The Democrats tell him he's wrong. I'm going to say it again. I can tell you all the stories in the world about growing up in Chicago. I would appreciate the National Guard being deployed. Megyn Kelly said you can't just do this for law enforcement, but she's not wrong. It's not about law enforcement. It's about having the National Guard come and help clean up the community. I mean, literally clean up the garbage. Just by being there, they deter the crime. I'd appreciate it. Now look at this. GoFundMe pulls horrific fundraisers for ex-con DeCarlos Brown Jr. accused of murdering Ukrainian refugee on a train. Can you believe this? Now, he only raised $5, but people are trying to raise money for this guy. I'm assuming it's real. It's absolutely insane. But, of course, you know it. The story from the Daily Mail. Beloved Auburn University professor stabbed to death while walking her dog. Now, take a look at Axios. Stabbing video fuels MAGA's crime message. I believe this is the first time Axios has actually written about the story. Wait till you see what they say in this. It'll make your blood boil. MAGA influencers are drawing repeated attention to violent attacks to elevate the issue of urban crime and accuse mainstream media of undercovering shocking cases. I'm going to say it like this. When the story broke, I'm not surprised the corporate press wasn't on top of it. A couple local news outlets had written about it. But when you see the story going viral, you write about it. Any one of these outlets, AP, New York Times, or otherwise, could have said a story gaining massive traction. Here's what happened. And they could have done it Saturday, Sunday, or whenever. The story happened August 22nd. They said nothing. But wait, it gets worse. Shocking video of the fatal August 22nd knife attack on 23-year-old Irina Zarutska in a light rail car in Charlotte, North Carolina, dominated weekend conversation on Trump-friendly social media. What? You mean on X and YouTube? They say the big picture, the rising number of surveillance cameras in public spaces, including in Charlotte's light rail, has become a big accelerant. The video is easily shared or leaked, and you can instantly pollinate across social media a visual counterpoint to statistics showing crime decreases. I have never wanted to punch my monitor harder. Well, okay, there's stories that make me really angry. Excuse me, Axios? The fact that we know it's happening now is the problem, is the issue. You can pollinate a video of a brutal murder, not the murder itself. Thank God we have cameras and we know it's happening. What a psychotic world these people are trying to create or have created. President Trump, asked about the Charlotte video by a reporter on Sunday, said he wanted to find out more. I'll know all about it tomorrow morning, Trump said. A Trump advisor told the Axios this is exactly what he's talking about. And it's going to be an issue he's going to highlight. It's not just about North Carolina. Other campaigns also deal with this. Elon Musk repeatedly posted about the Charlotte case this weekend for his 225 million X followers. Also commenting on X. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, Trump confidant Charlie Kirk, Senator Mike Lee, and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Well, it happened on a train. North Carolina Senate candidate Michael Whatley, a former chair of the national GOP, invoked the case to accuse his Democratic opponent, Governor Roy Cooper, of being soft on crime. Charlotte Mayor V. Lyles called it a heartbreaking attack. Zarutska recently arrived in Charlotte from Ukraine to escape war there, the Charlotte Observer reports. The suspect, Carlos Brown Jr., was charged with first-degree murder. His criminal record includes armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering, and shoplifting, according to jail records. Mecklenburg County District Attorney Spencer Merriweather, in an interview with Axios Charlotte last week, didn't comment directly on the case, but acknowledged the limitations and complexities of holding defendants with mental issues accountable. Whatley wrote on X that in June 2020, Cooper signed a soft-on-crime executive order, and just 3 months later, Brown was released from prison. The executive order established a racial profiling task force and sought to reduce systemic racism. I've dealt with this in Chicago. We all have. Cooper's campaign accused Whatley of lying and said Roy Cooper prosecuted violent criminals and drug dealers, increased the penalties for violence against law enforcement, and kept thousands of criminals off the streets and behind bars. Whatley spokesperson Daniel Alvarez countered that Brown was released from prison early, just as Cooper was spending more time talking about fighting racism and less about keeping career criminals like Brown locked up. But wait, there's more. I love this from Axios. MAGA erupts after Israeli official charged in child sex ring flees the United States. Now, with all due respect, Tal Axelrod, I don't mind covering the story about the reaction from conservatives. And this is just as an aside. The point is, you can literally just write about the Israeli official charged in a sex ring fleeing. You don't need the headline to be MAGA erupts. In fact, the story is the Israeli official. And then in that story, you write MAGA, here's how they responded. The point is, it's not the first time they frame stories like this. Stabbing video fuels MAGA's crime message. Why not just write, story goes viral, here's the reaction? They could literally write, brutal murder has dominates weekend narrative. Murder of Irina Zarutska could be the centerfold. Then you can say after the fact, here's the reaction from people. That's not what we get. Now, of course, Trump has responded to this, as we've seen. He said, I just give my love and hope to the family of the young one who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman. Now, it was a couple weeks ago. But of course, the media does not report on these stories. And here's the point. If you get a George Floyd story, whether we want to or not to talk about it, the corporate press will write about it. They will carry that story. Then, when you get the brutal murder of a young woman, they don't. And even when we say, hey, maybe we should talk about this, they say, look at MAGA pouncing on an issue. Guys, I don't understand why this isn't news. This woman was brutally murdered. I understand why this video gets more attention than, say, the Auburn professor. There's video of it. That's true. But the Auburn professor story is comparable. And it's being written about by the New York Post. These stories should not happen. Which brings us to Chicago. Senator Tammy Duckworth says Trump essentially just declared war on Chicago, but there's no indications of deployment. This is the attitude they give us. J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, screams in our faces, no deployments. Mayor Johnson says, we will resist, we will fight back. And you want to know where we're at right now? Take a look at this. We got this tweet from Gunther Eagleman. People in Chicago are preparing for a civilian showdown with federal officers. No, they're not. This is just not true. The average person in Chicago isn't paying attention at all.
Beginning tonight at 2 a.m., Chicago is going to see the largest military presence in the entire history of Chicago.
That's not correct.
Beginning tonight at 2 a.m.
That's false.
The critters will be crawling their way through Little Village, and they will be wreaking havoc door to door, dragging people out of their homes and placing them into custody
not
to get
true.
them ready for processing and deportation.
Made up.
So I'm letting the public know right now. Prepare. Get ready for a civilian showdown.
It won't
I'm
happen.
done calling it a music festival. This is a civilian showdown. We all need to participate in protecting and defending the lives of innocent people. This is what I have been working so hard to protect and prepare people for.
I'm just sad for my city. I'm sad for my city, man. In this video, they say this gang member is issuing a warning to Trump, stating not to send troops to Chicago, warning that the gangs will beat the National Guard. They won't. I can tell you they won't. Let's talk about the gangs in Chicago, man. I got stories for you guys.
Trump, do not send the National Guard to Chicago, gang. Do not, I repeat, do not do it. We are a different fucking breed out here, nigga. We are not Los Angeles. Nigga, we are not Washington, D.C.
That's right.
Nigga, this is Chicago, nigga.
He's right.
Them niggas go fight back. I'm telling you, them niggas go fight back, gang.
No.
Whatever, I don't give a fuck what you talking about. Them young niggas got switches, gang. They not going for that shit, bro. I know
It's
a
true.
bunch of y'all finna say, oh, it's the National Guard. They can't do anything about it. They must go in Chicago. Nigga, do y'all know that it's more bad people than good people, bro? There are over 100,000 gangs in Chicago by the city.
That's
by
not
itself.
true either.
Trump, do not send the National.
I want to, maybe 100,000 gang members, but let me just pull up the quick math. How many gangs in Chicago? Recognized, you know, kids are always calling themselves gangs all the time, but let's get the hard numbers on this one. It's double digits probably. There's 100 gangs, triple digits, wow. Around 150,000 gang-affiliated individuals. The DOJ estimates, okay, so 70 to 75 gangs with over 100,000 members in Chicago. So that's it. So it's not 100, 70 to 75, according to the DOJ. The Chicago Police Department tracks 55 known gangs with 747 factions. But it's one gang. They just operate in different areas, but they got the same bosses. Crime in Chicago says about 100,000 active gang members. Yeah, different math. I'm going to first say this. Chicago gangs, he's right. It's not LA. It's not DC. It's not New York. Yo, LA's got its gangs, man. But Chicago gangs, they go harder than any other gangs I've seen in the country. No joke. Bro, no joke. Gangs in Chicago do not mess around. And they are tough. He says they'll fight back. I say they won't. They won't. And I'll tell you why. Listen, I grew up on the South Side. You guys all know this, beating a dead horse. I get it. We had a bunch of gangs that existed in our area. It's funny because, like, a lot of Catholic gang bishops, the disciples, the popes. I'm not even kidding. Like, I don't know the history of that, but yeah. Let me tell you this. Now, some of these gangs are crazy. Some of them are crazy. Most of them are not crazy, but they will not tolerate disrespect. I've talked to film crews before. I remember when Vice did some documentaries in Chicago with gangs. And I asked them, like, what were they doing for security? And they were like, nothing. And I was like, they were like, when we were there, yeah. I'm like, no, but after the fact. And they were like, nothing. And I was like, bro, you guys are marked. You can't go to Chicago, embed with a gang, make them look cool and strong and tough on camera. The other gangs won't tolerate that because you're giving them access, you're giving them clout, you're giving them power. And when gangs are at war, they're going to be like, bro, these gang members aren't dumb. There's a reason behind why they take issue with this. I can't remember who it was. Was it 6'7" Kevin? I'm not sure. But there was a crew, maybe it wasn't. We were interviewing some guys, and they were doing an embed with a gang in Chicago, and a drive-by happened, and they unloaded and actually shot the camera guy. The gangs do this because they're like, listen, all the gangs are fighting for recruitment, fighting for territory. They're not always at war with each other. But if someone embeds with this gang, and you put this documentary, you generate attention and effective brand value for them, they're going to have an easier time getting recruiting, even if you think you're making them look bad. They're going to be able to find money. They're going to be able to cut deals. It's benefiting them and say, you are helping my enemy. It's like, imagine if you were an American reporter, for instance, and you went to Ukraine, but you were critical of Ukrainian government. It's almost like, could you imagine what would happen? The Ukrainian government arresting an American reporter and then killing him? Exactly. These guys, they're not rocket scientists, like they're not university degrees, but they're not insane. They may be aggressive, they may be brutal, they may be ruthless, but they're not going to fight Trump. I'll tell you what's going to happen. National Guard comes out, and these guys are going to say, don't bring the heat. I had earlier segment this morning, but I'll say it now in this context. They're going to say, don't bring the heat if you don't have to. Okay? If the National Guard comes in and there's trucks everywhere and they take over a territory, the gangs are going to be like, they just iced us out. You're not going to win that fight. All you're going to do is get arrested, lose money, and bring more heat. Let's say there's 2 National Guard in an area. They're going to say, do your thing. Do not cross the National Guard. Don't be stupid. You're going to bring it. They say it's about cops. That's why when this guy's like, they're going to fight back. Listen, how often do we hear about police getting in shit out with gangbangers? It happens, but it's not happening all the time. Okay? The cops roll up. The gangbangers say, we don't want the fight. So it happens. It does. But they don't want the heat and they'll avoid it. In my neighborhood, I guarantee it. At our local park, you can look up Vittum Park, Vittum. That's where I grew up. If we had 2 National Guard just walking around the park, sitting in the playground, the muggings would have stopped. The gangbangers would have stopped coming. To be fair, the gangbangers probably still be there. They'd just be hanging out, but they'd keep a low profile. Less shakedowns. Yo, there was counterfeiting. It was wild, dude. The counterfeiting was wild. And there was an ice cream truck, and the counterfeiters would just clean their money through the ice cream truck. I guess there was like a company owned a fleet of ice cream trucks, and so it would park in front of the playground because we'd all hang out there. We'd buy ice cream. It was soft serve. It was awesome. And there were dudes who would bring. I've only ever heard the stories. I've never seen them do it, but there were guys who'd go up there and buy. And the guy who was selling ice cream didn't own the truck. So he would just take the counterfeit money and then hand them the real cash. That's how they cleaned it. It's wild. It happened all the time. If the National Guard was there, stuff like that might still happen. But slinging dope and muggings would definitely not happen. Because the gang's going to be like this. Listen, National Guard comes in. The gangs are like, we selling in 10 areas. Okay, we lose one area, whatever, just go somewhere else. But if you get into it with them, they're going to come into our territory and they're going to screw up business. The gangs are aggressive. They do fight. They are violent. They are tough. They don't take disrespect. But they're not morons. That's the thing like people don't understand about traveling the world. It's like they think people can't do 1 + 1 = 2. So when he says the gangs are going to fight back, it's like, bro, it could happen. Only through accidental circumstances. But the gang leaders, I tell you this because I've met them, I've known them, they're going to say, bro, I make money doing this, man. Don't cost me money. They'll be pissed. It's like any movie. The mob boss is going to come in and be like, why are you getting me involved in this, dude? So I say this about this cover-up, about this story. I think we need the National Guard. I think we need something to be done because we can't just keep living this way. 100,000 gang members, shootings, all that stuff. Chicago clearly isn't doing what they need to do. I'm going to wrap it up there, my friends. We're going to be joined by Christian Maxwell. She's from Chicago. She's running for Congress in I believe it's Bobby Rush's district. I'm going to talk to her about what's going on in Chicago. I haven't been there in 20 years. Just shy of 20 years. It's been 16 years. And I'm curious what she thinks. And I'm really excited to talk to somebody from Chicago. And so we can get this message to the people about what Trump's plan is and why. I'm pretty sure we're going to agree on a lot of things. We may have a different perspective. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. That interview will be up at 4 p.m. at youtube.com/Timcast or rumble.com/theculturewar. New channel URL. And check it out. For those that are watching live, we'll keep going. But for us, we'll see you all in the next segment.